It's almost impossible to really overstate how important cities are in our world today.
Absolutely. They're the real powerhouses, aren't they?
Totally. Generating something like, what is it? A mind-boggling 80% of the entire global GDP.
Yeah, it's staggering.
But, these incredibly vibrant places, these hubs of progress, they're also grappling with some seriously complex issues.
Right, and they're all interconnected.
Especially when we talk about, well, climate change, obviously, and just the general well-being of everyone living there.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes some tough stuff like the growing crisis of homelessness we're seeing.
Yeah, cities are really in a pivotal position. They offer so much opportunity, so much innovation,
Yeah.
but their sheer density, all those people and all that activity,
Yeah.
it makes them uniquely vulnerable. Vulnerable to environmental shifts, sure, but also to these increasing social stresses. It's a real paradox.
Which brings us neatly to this really crucial concept, sustainable and smart cities. It's basically a framework, isn't it? A way of thinking about how we can tackle these really knotty problems, but in an integrated way.
Exactly. And today, we're diving deep into this fascinating new book that really gets into the practical side. What solutions are actually being considered? What's effective?
So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the key insights from this book.
And what's so vital about this particular work is that it stresses these challenges aren't isolated. You can't just fix transport without thinking about housing or energy, without thinking about social equity.
It's all connected.
Precisely. We need that holistic perspective to find solutions that actually last.
And it's not just one person's opinion, right? This book pulls together a really diverse mix of viewpoints and methods.
Oh, yeah. We're talking empirical studies.
Yeah.
Real-world data analysis.
Seeing what's actually happening on the ground.
Right. But also sophisticated modeling and simulations to kind of predict outcomes.
Like, what if we did this? Scenarios.
Exactly. Plus, policy analysis, what governance works, what doesn't, and loads of case studies, concrete examples we can learn from.
That sounds really comprehensive.
And to help structure it all, the book's organized thematically. It looks at governance and management first, like how do you actually run these complex places?
Okay.
Then the economy, its role in sustainability. Third, the society aspect, the people. And finally, technology, how it cuts across everything.
Makes sense. And before we jump into the nitty-gritty, we should probably mention the editors, Anne Schumann-Kerr and Terry Beckman.
Definitely. Their expertise adds a lot of weight.
Their backgrounds cover so much ground: operations management, environmental regulations, urban studies, sustainable partnerships. It's impressive.
Yeah, it gives you real confidence in the depth of understanding behind this.
Okay, so let's really dig into this then. Sustainable and smart cities. That term smart city gets thrown around a lot. What does it actually mean here?
Well, the book defines it as basically a modern way to develop cities that hinges on integrating ICT, information and communication technologies.
Okay, ICT.
Right. Using tech to significantly enhance different parts of urban life. Think improving your daily commute, how we use energy, healthcare quality, even how cities are governed.
So at its heart, it's about using available technology strategically, making things run better.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We're talking powerful tools, the Internet of Things, sensors everywhere collecting data.
Right. IoT.
Big data analytics to make sense of it all, cloud computing for storage and processing, even geospatial information systems for mapping the city's dynamics.
Wow, okay.
The main goals: more efficient planning and management, better, more responsive services for citizens, and ultimately a better quality of life for everyone.
Okay, so it's way more than just cool gadgets. It's the smart application of tech.
Exactly.
And I guess smart city isn't a one-size-fits-all thing, is it? What works in Tokyo might not work in, say, Nairobi.
Absolutely not. The book really stresses that. What a smart city looks like depends hugely on context, economic development, unique challenges, specific goals.
Makes sense.
A city in a highly industrialized country might focus on different tech than one in a rapidly developing nation. But the core ideas, they tend to be similar.
Like what?
Things like connectivity, intelligence from data analysis, being instrumented with sensors. It's all aimed at boosting efficiency, transparency, and the quality of services. The how might differ, but the why is often quite similar.
Got it. Now, when we add sustainable to smart cities, we absolutely have to talk about the environmental impact, right? I mean, cities must have a massive footprint.
Oh, truly staggering. The book flags that cities are responsible for over 70% of global co-Euro emissions.
70%.
Yeah. And when you think about where it comes from, it's not surprising. Transportation, powering all those buildings and industries, construction, It all adds up.
Those numbers are huge. And then you factor in climate change getting faster.
The urgency just ramps up, doesn't
Yeah.
it? The book mentions the IPCC report projecting that 1.5 degrees C warming increase possibly between 2030 and 2052.
Which isn't far off at all.
Not at all. And we're already seeing the effects in densely populated areas, right? More heat waves, intense rain, flooding, droughts. It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable our cities are.
It's that paradox again, isn't it? Cities are these amazing engines of progress, attracting people for a better life.
Yet they're also the main drivers of the greenhouse gases, threatening that very future.
That tension is right at the core.
It really is. And to understand how to make cities more environmentally sustainable, the book introduces this really useful concept: urban metabolism.
Urban metabolism. Okay, unpack that for us.
Think of a city like a living organism.
Yeah.
It takes in resources, water, energy, materials.
Right.
It processes them to function and grow, and then it generates waste. Urban metabolism is the study of these flows.
So tracking everything coming in and going out.
Exactly. How fast does it use resources, both renewable and non-renewable? How do materials move? How good is recycling? How is waste managed? Understanding this whole metabolism is getting critical for cities serious about sustainability. It's like knowing the city's diet and its, well, waste habits.
That makes so much sense, seeing the whole life cycle of resources, a great framework for finding where to intervene. Now, the book also puts a lot of emphasis on data, doesn't it? How using data well helps make cities smarter and more sustainable.
Absolutely. It strongly advocates for a data ecosystem approach.
Data ecosystem.
Yeah, the idea is if you look at all the different data generated in a city and understand how it flows between stakeholders, government developers, tech providers, citizens.
Everyone involved.
Right. Then you get a much clearer picture of the city's complex dynamics, how everything's connected. It's like seeing the whole forest, not just the trees, but using data as your lens.
Using data to really grasp that interconnectedness. But managing all that data, that must be a huge challenge itself. Cities are incredibly complex.
Oh, definitely. The book is very clear that orchestrating, governing, organizing these citywide data ecosystems is not easy.
I bet.
You've got tons of different data systems, loads of stakeholders, maybe with conflicting interests, often no clear rules for sharing or using data.
Yeah, questions jump out immediately, like who actually owns all this
Right.
data? Who gets to use it? And crucially, how do you make sure it's used responsibly, ethically?
Exactly the points the book makes. Effective data ecosystem governance is absolutely essential, not just for public trust, but for the long-term sustainability of these projects too.
So governance is key.
It delves into things like clear data ownership, defining roles and responsibilities for everyone involved, even how these initiatives get funded and sustained. Without strong, transparent governance, you just can't build a reliable system that benefits everyone.
And I saw the book mentions different ways these ecosystems can be structured.
Yeah, it outlines a few models based on research and what's emerging. There's keystone-centric, where one big player, maybe a utility company, controls most of the core data.
Okay.
Then intermediary-based, with a neutral third party managing data flow. Platform-centric revolves around a central digital hub. And marketplace-based is more like an open market for data.
So different flavors depending on the city and the setup?
Exactly. Like imagine a big energy company holding all the consumption data. That'd be pretty keystone-centric.
Right.
It shows there's no single blueprint.
Right.
The book even points to Finland, where cities are already experimenting with these ideas, even if it's early days. The underlying hope is that using urban data widely and responsibly can unlock new, innovative solutions for society.
That's a positive outlook. So better organization and governance of this data web could lead to real improvements in how cities run.
That's a key takeaway. Well-managed data ecosystems can boost operational efficiency, give decision-makers a much better real-time picture of what's happening.
Situational awareness, basically.
Exactly. But the book also notes, because this is all still pretty new in the urban world, cities are learning as they go. They're experimenting, figuring out the best operational models, adapting based on experience. There's a lot of learning by doing.
It really hammers home that data is powerful, but you need to handle it carefully, ethically, with a clear understanding of its impact. Now, switching gears a bit, the book argues strongly that successful smart cities aren't just about fancy tech. It's about the people, right?
Absolutely crucial. A big chunk of the book focuses on the importance of the citizen perspective and what it calls market orientation.
Market orientation in a city context. That's interesting. Explain that.
Sure, it means really understanding and satisfying the community's diverse needs and wants. And crucially, being flexible enough to adapt plans and services based on real feedback about what people actually value. It's putting the citizen right at the center.
And if planners and tech developers don't do that,
Well, the book argues pretty convincingly it can lead to public opposition, kill trust, and cause projects to fail no matter how advanced the tech looks on paper.
any examples?
They use the 2017 Quayside project in Toronto as a big cautionary tale.
Ah, the Sidewalk Labs project. I remember that being controversial.
Exactly. Hugely ambitious tech vision, but it faced massive public backlash. Why? Big concerns about data privacy, lack of transparency, people feeling they weren't properly consulted or listened to.
So it fell apart because they didn't bring the public along?
Pretty much. The book points to this as a common pitfall, getting so caught up in the tech possibilities that you forget to genuinely listen to the people you're supposedly serving. They didn't understand what Torontonians really wanted, or, maybe more importantly, what they feared.
So dazzling tech isn't enough. It has to be something people actually want, trust, and see the value in.
Precisely. Market orientation acts as that vital bridge, connecting abstract tech solutions to practical, user-friendly applications that genuinely improve lives. That link is presented as absolutely vital for sustainability and acceptance.
And this section also mentions value co-creation. Sounds related.
Yes, specifically for smart services. It's a model where customers aren't just passive recipients. They actively participate in delivering the service.
Why so?
Giving real-time feedback, suggesting improvements, even helping develop new features. It's much more dynamic, more collaborative.
So less top-down, more iterative and collaborative.
Exactly. And that puts pressure on providers to stay responsive to changing needs. It can also spark new service models and new business ideas.
Interesting.
But the book also notes something interesting. We talk a lot about involving customers in the design phase, but maybe we haven't fully explored their role in the day-to-day operational phase as much.
That's a great point. Ongoing feedback and involvement could surely make services more effective and adaptable long-term. Now, the book uses these ideas to classify different smart city approaches, right?
Yes, it proposes a really helpful classification using two dimensions. First, the governance style.
Yeah.
Is it mostly top-down, driven by government and big companies, or more bottom-up, with lots of citizen participation?
Okay, top-down versus bottom-up, and the second dimension.
The basic orientation. Is it mainly tech-centric, focused on deploying advanced tech, or more co-creative and market-centric, emphasizing community needs and input?
That gives you a nice matrix to map different philosophies. Does it give examples?
It does. For tech-centric top-down, they point to Songdo in South Korea.
The city built from scratch.
Right. Designed with tech embedded everywhere, energy, transport, waste. Their underground waste system, for instance, cuts collection costs and boosts recycling significantly.
Sounds very efficient. Maybe less community-driven in its conception, though.
Exactly. Another example they give is Masdar City in the UAE. Very strong focus on sustainability through tech innovation, aiming to slash energy use and emissions. They've apparently made good progress compared to standard UAE building practices.
So, clear examples where tech and central planning lead. What about the other end, co-creative, community-driven?
Amsterdam is highlighted there. They have the Smart Citizen Lab,
What's that?
an initiative where residents use sensors to monitor things like air quality and noise in their own neighborhoods.
Wow, citizens collecting the data themselves.
Yeah, and these grassroots efforts have reportedly led to real results, lower CO2 emissions, more people cycling.
That's a fantastic example of tech empowering community action leading to tangible results.
Exactly. Though the book does add a useful caveat, in reality, the lines between citizens, businesses, and government often blur. People wear different hats.
Sure, it's never that clean cut in the real world.
Right. But for analysis, they separate the roles. They suggest future research could look more at these overlaps and how they influence co-creation.
It really feels like it comes down to finding that right balance, doesn't it, between technology's potential and people's fundamental needs. Now, the book also looks at something often overlooked: intermediary organizations driving sustainability. What are those?
This part examines public intermediaries think specialized agencies promoting specific policies. Their role here is helping SMEs, small and medium businesses, become more environmentally competitive.
Okay.
It uses two great case studies. The Efficiency Agency, or EHA, in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany,
NRW, yeah.
and the Environmental Protection Department, MA22, in Vienna, Austria.
So these are like bridges between government policy and local businesses.
Precisely. They act as policy agents, helping implement regulations, but also supporting businesses in adopting sustainable practices.
Yeah.
NRW, with its industrial history, set up EA partly to handle the decline of old industries, pushing towards things like Industry 4.0 and resource efficiency.
And how does EA actually help businesses get greener?
It's pretty hands-on. They offer consulting, help companies collect and analyze environmental data in a central database, facilitate networking to share best practices, and even advise on finance for efficiency projects through something called PIUS Finance. They also use innovative methods like the CRCO workshops for circular economy ideas.
Sounds really comprehensive. What about Vienna's MA22 and its Eco Business Wien program? Similar goals.
Very similar goals, yes. Reducing environmental impact, conserving resources, strengthening the local economy. Eco-Business Wien, or EBW, has different modules, expert consulting like EcoWin, financial incentives like EcoBonus, even an eco-label for sustainable businesses. Partnership is key for them, too.
So similar aims, maybe slightly different approaches and funding.
That's right. The book notes EFA and NRW is mostly state-funded, while MA22 in Vienna uses a mix of public funds and partner contributions. But both emphasize connecting people and organizations in their ecosystems.
Makes sense.
And both use external consultants who work directly with the businesses, collecting data, and measuring the impact of the changes implemented.
So those consultants are really on the front lines.
Exactly. And the book stresses two crucial things for success. One, the SME managers themselves have to be genuinely enthusiastic and willing to change.
Fly in from the top.
Right. And two, businesses usually have to contribute financially to the consulting, which ensures they're committed. The conclusion: these intermediaries are essential keystones in building business ecosystems that foster both value and sustainability.
It's about creating that supportive environment where sustainability is an opportunity, not just a cost. Now, switching focus again, the book looks at another innovation driver, startup ecosystems, particularly in Japan. What's the focus there?
This section dives into Japan's Startup Ecosystem Hub Cities initiative and the role of startup support facilities in nurturing these hubs. The government is actively designating specific regions to accelerate startup growth.
A deliberate national strategy, then.
Seems so. The book mentions key areas like Tokyo, Central Japan, Aichi, Nagoya, Hamamatsu, and others like Sendai and Fukuoka. It zooms in on the Central Japan Consortium, highlighting efforts in Aichi, Nagoya's upcoming Station I hub, and Hamamatsu's existing FUS organization.
And why are these support facilities so critical for a thriving ecosystem?
Well, the book draws on earlier research showing that just having the ingredients, universities, funding isn't enough. It's how they interact.
The connections matter.
Exactly. These facilities provide tailored support, strengthen local networks, offer crucial resources like workspace, training, management help, even early-stage investment.
So much more than just shared offices. They're actively nurturing these young companies.
Right. The book even mentions accelerators in Taiwan, short, intensive entrepreneurs, investors, mentors.
And how does this play out in the Japanese examples like Toyohashi and Hamamatsu?
In Toyohashi, the local council takes a broad regional approach, fostering collaboration across the area rather than just one facility. In Hamamatsu, what's interesting is the fusion of startup ideas with the region's strong manufacturing base, plus growing links with venture capital.
It really highlights that it's not just about having the pieces, but how they connect and function together to support new ventures.
That's the core message. Developing the roles and functions within the ecosystem is more critical than just having the elements exist. And importantly, it notes that intrinsic motivation, that internally driven effort within the community, is fundamental for these ecosystems to truly thrive.
It has to come from a real local desire to innovate. Okay, let's shift to something more tangible, sustainable homes. The book looks at the research landscape here.
Yes, this part transitions to sustainable homes and the broader idea of sustainability. It frames sustainable development as aiming for long-term ecological and sociocultural stability, responding to social injustice and environmental issues.
A necessary response.
Right. And it notes businesses are increasingly focused on the UN's SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, as consumer concern about sustainability grows.
And they did a bibliometric analysis to map the research. What does that involve, briefly?
It's essentially a bird's-eye view of research publications, analyzing data like how many articles are published over time, which countries lead the research, what types of documents, which journals are most influential, top institutions, authors, even who's funding the work.
A data-driven way to see the big picture of the research field.
Exactly.
And what did the analysis of sustainable homes research find?
A clear upward trend in research volume, especially recently, showing its growing importance. The US, Australia, China, Germany, and Canada are leading in publications. Top journals include Sustainability Switzerland and Journal of Cleaner Production. They also did a keyword analysis to spot the main research themes.
Okay, what themes emerged?
Several interesting ones. A big one is home gardens, not just for food, but social sustainability, food waste, even links to migration, tourism, COVID-19 impacts on urban farming.
Huh, interesting connections.
Another key theme is IoT in urban development, specifically within homes, things like smart energy management systems, assessing the sustainability of e-commerce, digitainability. Sustainable land management and sustainable mobility were also prominent.
So a really broad interdisciplinary field.
Absolutely. The conclusion is that sustainable homes research is growing fast, it's highly interdisciplinary, and crucial for tackling big challenges like urbanization, climate change, and residential energy use. The potential for IoT in home energy management is seen as a valuable model for wider urban applications too.
Makes sense. Learn at the micro level of the home, then scale up to the city. Now, the book also tackles a really tough, often hidden issue in smart cities: homelessness.
Yes, a really critical section. It directly addresses the worrying growth of homelessness in many richer countries this century, made worse by the 2008 crisis and the pandemic, often catching experts off guard.
It's sadly very visible in many cities. How does the book frame this in relation to smart cities?
It asks a fundamental question. How can smart city tech and data actually help reduce homelessness? And why might smart cities be better positioned to deal with it?
Good questions.
It starts by defining different types: temporary, cyclical, chronic, and Tyler, and considers the meaning of home, using the UN's broader definition that includes health, security, access to services.
Because it's about more than just shelter, right? Stability, security, dignity.
Exactly. Then it looks at the complex causes. Economic factors like job loss, low wages, unaffordable housing, mentioning that 30% income benchmark, often hard to meet now.
Yeah.
Plus health issues, physical and mental, addiction, and social factors like family breakdown, lack of support.
A real tangled web of issues. So how do smart cities with all their tech and data fit in?
The argument is that smart cities, with their digital tech and data analytics, have untapped potential to tackle social problems like homelessness. It's a shift from the early focus on just infrastructure and transport.
Using the tools for social good.
Right. More data collection, better analysis of trends, designing and testing interventions more effectively.
Does it mention early examples of using tech for this?
Yes. Early initiatives in Seattle and NYC using smartphone apps to improve information flow. Citizens could report people experiencing homelessness, giving outreach teams better real-time data.
Okay.
It also stresses that research on urban dynamics, how people move, use services, is vital for designing effective interventions. And things like digital twins or urban simulations could help plan and test policies.
A more proactive, data-informed approach. Are there examples of cutting-edge tech being used directly?
Absolutely. Several inspiring case studies. Austin used blockchain for secure, digitized medical records for the homeless, giving them control over their health info.
That's huge.
San Francisco is exploring 3D printed houses for faster, affordable housing. And VR virtual reality has been used in Northampton, England, and Stanford to create empathetic experiences, helping house people understand the realities of homelessness better.
Those are really innovative uses, beyond just data creating solutions and empathy.
Exactly. The book emphasizes the power of combining technologies. BIM for designing shelters, VRs for refining designs, 3D modeling for rapid housing prototypes, GIS for locating services effectively. Integrating these tools allows a more holistic approach.
So the argument is smart cities have the tools and a greater responsibility to tackle homelessness, right? To live up to their promise.
That's the powerful conclusion. If smart cities fail to address homelessness, if they leave people behind, they undermine their core promise of creating inclusive, citizen-engaged urban environments.
A potent reminder that smart has to include socially responsible. Okay, let's move to another crucial piece: education's role in building resilient cities.
Yes, this section highlights how critical education is for equipping people to build more resilient cities facing climate change and urbanization. It features a great case study. The International Campus of Zhejiang University, IZJU, is designed as a sponge campus within a sponge city, Linan, near Hangzhou in China.
Sponge campus, sponge city, evocative terms. What do they mean?
The sponge city idea is an innovative urban water management approach. It aims to help cities absorb and manage rainwater better, using green infrastructure and nature-based solutions, improving resilience to floods and droughts.
Like designing the city to act like a natural sponge?
Exactly. Mimicking natural water processes, absorbing, filtering, retaining water.
And how does the IZJU campus do this?
They have a really impressive rainwater harvesting system. Collects water from roofs, roads, filters it naturally, stores it in a central lake, then reuses it for irrigation, cleaning. They estimate it covers about 15% of their water needs from non-traditional sources.
That's a significant saving. Other sponge features, too.
Oh, yeah. Lots of bioretention areas, small sponges for greening and filtering stormwater, concave green areas designed to temporarily hold stormwater, like mini floodplains.
A holistic approach integrating natural water management.
Totally. Plus things like pervious pavements, letting water soak in, green roofs, constructed wetlands, multi-use infrastructure. The whole campus acts as a living lab for sustainability.
Educating students through experience, demonstrating solutions.
Right. And aligning directly with SDGs on water, energy, cities, climate action. It's education leading by example.
Fantastic example. The book also briefly mentions climate anxiety.
Yes, an important point. When implementing smart city climate policies, cities need to be mindful of causing anxiety. It's about balancing the real risks with a sense of hope and empowerment to encourage action, not paralysis.
A critical psychological balance.
Mm.
Motivate action, don't just overwhelm. Okay, finally, the book looks at harnessing tech specifically for sustainable energy management.
This last part introduces the API as digital platform as an example of tech advancing distributed renewable energy systems.
Distributed energy like rooftop solar, smaller sources close to users.
Exactly. The book outlines challenges with these systems,
Mhm.
distributed photovoltaic or DPV. For the panels themselves, dust, damage, grid variations, clouds impacting performance. For installers, different inverter brands, monitoring systems going offline. For grid operators, managing the variability of renewables, potential grid failures, lots of moving parts.
So, complex to manage effectively. How does APIS help?
It ties into the concept of DR, Distributed Energy Resources Living Labs. These are collaborative setups for real-world testing of these technologies.
Bringing different players together.
Yeah, researchers, energy providers, tech developers, communities, they focus on collaboration, real-world testing, sustainability, exploring diverse tech, the benefits, better efficiency, grid resilience, community engagement, faster innovation.
And APIs is a digital tool for these living labs.
Yes, it provides robust data management, monitoring, real-time analytics specifically for these distributed systems. Helps manage data flow, track performance, generate insights to optimize integration with the grid.
Making sense of all the data from diverse sources.
Precisely. The book also mentions needing standard communication protocols for interoperability and how blockchain could add traceability and security. API itself is described as being at a fairly advanced stage, TRL6, with ongoing piloting. Future plans include integrating smart meters and EV chargers.
Using digital tech to create a smarter, more sustainable energy ecosystem. Wow. Well, this has been an incredibly rich deep dive. So many interconnected topics around making cities smarter and more sustainable.
It really has. We covered the core concepts, the role of data and citizens, intermediaries, startups, sustainable homes research, tackling homelessness, the importance of education, and energy tech.
And the thread running through it all is that interconnectedness, isn't it? These aren't separate problems.
Not at all. We need holistic, innovative, and really people-centric solutions for truly thriving, equitable, sustainable cities.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a final thought for you listening. Considering this complex, evolving landscape of urban challenges and all the innovations we've discussed,
What fundamental shift in mindset or maybe approach do you think is most crucial for creating truly sustainable and thriving cities? How do we best balance that rapid tech advancement with genuine community needs and our environmental responsibilities?
something to definitely mull over.